Hello, so for this week's project I thought it might be interesting to devote ourselves to a bit of still life. Now it's not my usual choice of subject, but I think it offers possibilities for really exploring a subject and particularly trying to develop your own feeling for the direction of a particular composition. Is it colour? Is it form? Is it the arrangement of the shapes and so on? So I've taken a few things from the kitchen and put them onto a patterned cloth, and I'm just going to demonstrate some of the things that I recommend you try. And really, I think if the aim of the project is to develop a feel for composition and for an image that you are pushing in a particular direction, it probably makes sense initially to be very open-minded and flexible about what you do. So I'm starting with a whole set of small studies. And this is a process I would recommend to you. I've put out my cups and my teapots and things on the patterned cloth, and I'm starting just with this viewpoint. And I've done this already, but I'll do a bit more to it. I'm just doing a line drawing. So I just want to see what the shapes are, maybe get a bit of a feel for the perspective that's involved, the spaces in between the shapes. So this is from the point of view of just really getting to know the subject. You know, when I look from this point of view, we've got quite a few ellipses. I actually chose these objects partly because of their colour. So it's not a bad thing that I'm looking at them not in terms of colour but in terms of the shape, and seeing how these shapes are viewed from this angle. So that's the first thing. I've just done a line drawing so it doesn't get complicated. I can even do the not lifting the pencil off the page exercise just to see whether, this is basically making me look at these objects. Have I made a good choice? Am I going to spend a week with them? Or can I come up with a slight variation as a result of doing a line drawing? Then, let's pause a minute while I change. Then I've changed my viewpoint. So I'm looking down on these objects now. So I'm much more aware of the spaces in between them. These ellipses, which are the openings of the cups and the teapot, are now becoming much more circular. I'm seeing a lot more of the pattern on the cloth. So just by changing my viewpoint, I'm going to get a different experience and hopefully come to some different conclusions about these objects. So I've just changed my eye level. So that's another kind of variation that I would suggest you try. So maybe try another line drawing. Then I'm going to move and try something tonal. So I've moved around a bit now, and I'm going to try a different kind of drawing. I'm doing something tonal. Drawing without lines. I've just got this is a 6B pencil. I've done the drawing already, but I've just been hatching, scribbling some of the shapes, looking with my eyes half closed. There are lots of inflections you can see in that teapot. Actually, they've appeared since I did this. But I'm not worrying too much about them. I'm looking with my eyes half closed, seeing where the light and dark shapes are. And actually, I respond much more to this. This is much more what interests me about these objects. And so that leads me to think, actually, if I like the tonal viewpoint, why don't I move even further around so that I'm really looking against the light? Let's try that. Okay, so now for me this is getting much more interesting. This teapot is just this fantastic big round shape. The tea box in front of it you can hardly make out, and we've just got these light ellipses of the cups. So this looks more interesting to me. This is probably something that would appeal more in terms of wanting to spend time on it. So I've been exploring different viewpoints, trying different ways of drawing, line drawings, tonal or drawings with outlines, tone only. And that's brought me around here. Sorry, you couldn't see that. That's brought me around there. So then I suggest trying some colour. So background at this lower eye level view with some grey sugar paper, and I'm working a bit now with pastel. And I think I'd said at the beginning actually what appealed to me about these objects was the colour. I'd chosen these various green cups and set them against the scarlety, the crimsony red cushion cover, and I'm playing around with those, that sort of limited palette. So I quite like that, and actually when I started on colour, I suddenly noticed just how white the insides of the cups were and thought that's a nice bit of contrast. Maybe that's because I like the tonal contrast. So I tried that round there and think that the colour is much more interesting. And then let's move around. No, I didn't do that. Could you hear me? I forgot the microphone. I wonder if you could hear that. So I said that I came around to this viewpoint and I've been working with colour, and I remembered that it was colour. The colour was the reason that I came around there. So now I'm going to come around here and get that lower viewpoint looking straight across. And get my colours. Spoiler alert, this is what I like doing. So this is the one that interests me most. So I did, let's see so you can see it all, see my drawing. So I was working there, because it is against the light, actually I put down charcoal, that old Degas technique. I just really like the contrast, this big round bulky teapot, the shadows that come towards us. So clearly I'm a tonal worker, and at the same time some of the things that I felt about the colour that I've already mentioned, you know, the white insides of the cups and some of the white and light reflections on the surface of the teapot, for example, they just really come into their own round here. So, you know, I have searched a little and probably have found a viewpoint with my objects that means something to me and that I would want to spend longer on. We've got amazing light actually at the moment coming through. There's this light on the sofa, whether that would be part of it as well, I'd have to see. So that's looking at that this set of well-chosen objects and trying to draw them from different viewpoints and you know, eye levels, as well as changing the light on them by coming around different sides and trying to work out what interests me most. So I'll leave these objects and I'm going to go in search of some accidental compositions, things that I haven't set up, and see if there's something that I can also work with along those lines. So the kitchen's being used, and this may be the only room in the house you haven't been into yet. So I'm in the bathroom looking for some accidental compositions. So I do like a shaving brush, looking from above down on the corner of the sink. Got a wild inherited colour scheme in the bathroom, all these blue tiles, so that might motivate me. That might be something I want to spend time with. So again, I'm just doing a line drawing here. Things like the tap. So how much of this... So it's not an interior, I'm doing a still life here, but I'm trying to choose what I think would be interesting. And again, as I've been demonstrating already, just by doing the line drawing, I think I can start to, it's just a way of looking for a start. And I can be thinking, well, how would I paint that? Would I want to paint that? That's the more important point. Would I want to paint that? But how would it work? And so on. And is it, what's its quality? Is it to do with shapes? Is it to do with colour? Is it to do with light? It could be all those things. I suppose that's what the ultimate still life will be. So, I started to do tone there. But anyway, just looking for some unconscious compositions. Here's another. I mean, the light's a bit wild in here, but I do like the abandoned workspace with the sewing machine and the scissors, the fantastic purple handles. So that might be something that could interest me. So that's probably enough examples to illustrate what I'm talking about. I've done another line drawing. I think line drawings aren't a bad idea. If you try the continuous line and you just stick to line, you probably find that you've had a good look at what's there. It doesn't obviously convey its tonal or its colour qualities, but it does make you look, and you can start to think, golly, that's too difficult to draw, that doesn't make sense, or that's worth leaving out, that's worth moving possibly. So yeah, I think the line drawing is worth doing, but you could then go on to doing something tonal if that's important. And this is one of the rooms that's full of light at this time of day. So actually there's an amazing light, there's an amazing tonal quality to what's in here. Okay, so that should be enough examples of some accidental, unconscious still life compositions. So just to conclude this video prompt, it's the next day. I have come back to my objects. I had come to the conclusion that I wanted to look at them against the light. I'm interested in doing something much more tonal. I don't know if you've noticed, but I've rearranged things. The cups, their handles now are visible, which I think adds something to the whole arrangement. And what else is different? Yeah, I think I've created some spaces between the objects. So some of the light is coming through over here, which I think is an enhancement. Now, what's difficult for me is that I'm putting this together quite quickly to get you started on something that I'm hoping you will develop much more slowly. So I haven't really shown you great changes in my relationship with my still life objects. In a way, I think the whole point of this exercise, trying to make the most of the fact that we are limited in what we can do. We're not in a studio with a model. So how can we make the most of this circumstance? And I think often I've been talking to people about how you develop a painting. You have a particular focus, you have a particular aim. It's overused, this quote from Degas, but Degas said, don't draw what you see, draw what you want others to see. What are you trying to show people? What's the point of your art? That you want people to experience something that you're experiencing when you look at something and when you represent it. So, not what you see, what you want others to see. What do you want people to see about this still life? Notwithstanding, still life may not be your favourite subject matter, it is quite a good opportunity to put together an image that's got a real direction to it. So my direction was this against the light tonal composition, and I like the way that that's my pastel drawing, the way that some of the objects like the teapot is almost a bit unrecognisable, a bit more intriguing. So in preparation for that, last night I put down a bit of I did a kind of monochrome tonal underpainting, which should now be dry. And that's an example of something that I thought, right, if I really want to get strong tonal contrast, it might help actually to get something dark down and let it dry. So I'm hoping that you'll make similar decisions. You might rearrange objects, you might work in stages so that your aim is achieved through whatever it is, composition, colour, light. So I might just make a couple of changes. So I think my mug is now it's a bit further over, that's it. Luckily you don't see exactly what I see, so I can pretend that I haven't made massive changes, or that and you won't know. Was my microphone on? Okay, so that's kind of where things are. I just want to make more of that. So you maybe don't need to see very much of this, but painting, I've put down some dark, and now I've mixed up an even darker colour. And as I've said, the things that I find interesting and that I want to bring out is the slightly unusual viewpoint of the teapot. So that's helpful for blocking that in, but it'll also be significant to work with negative shapes. So I've got some colour down here for this surface that the objects are on, and the spaces in between, as I say, will also be part of what I develop. So just do a couple more things, and then it's over to you. And maybe when we have our Zoom meeting, so I'm just painting some of these negative spaces now, because again I felt that that's going to be something that I want to show people. That's something that's going to be a feature of my painting. Yeah, and then one other thing that I did, and again this is particularly relevant to what I'm doing, I'm just going to put a bit of light on the teapot. But actually, if I wasn't in a hurry to do this to show you, I would leave this. I can float some light up there, you know, on the rim of the teapot lid, and on some of these reflections, and on the top of the spout. But I think it would be quite nice actually to have waited until that had dried, and then to have dragged some lighter paint on. But I mean, that works as well. So it's just an example of the sort of thing you might be thinking about. You know, how can you best achieve the particular emphasis that you've found through your drawings, through looking at your objects from different viewpoints, rearranging them, coming to a different conclusion about what works best. How can you channel everything that you do, including the development of the painting, to bring out that particular emphasis, to create the ultimate still life. Yes, so it may be that when we talk at 1 p.m. today, you haven't done very much at all in terms of producing work, but you will have given a lot of thought to the objects, the arrangement, the lighting, and so on. So it's fine if you just send me a picture of a start that you've made in this process. It might even be a photograph of some objects rather than an actual drawing. Okay, well, I hope this goes well for you.